I remember the days when I would stand before the mirror questioning my worth, doubting my abilities. There was a time when each day was a struggle, a battle against the crippling insecurities that had taken root deep within. A time when the reflection staring back at me was a stranger, a distorted version of myself I could hardly recognize. In those early days, the seeds of self-doubt were sown. They started small, almost imperceptible. They were the nagging thoughts that whispered, "You're not good enough," the quiet voice that insisted, "You'll never amount to anything." These insidious thoughts, these seeds of doubt, gradually took hold, growing stronger and more persistent with each passing day. Living with these insecurities was like walking through a dense, foggy forest without a compass or a guide. The path was unclear, the destination unknown. The more I tried to navigate this murky landscape, the more lost I felt. The more I tried to understand my worth, the more elusive it seemed. Every failure, every rejection, every setback was a stark reminder of these insecurities. They served as fuel for the fire of self-doubt, casting a long, dark shadow over my mental health. The constant questioning of my worth, the relentless doubting of my abilities, took a toll on my well-being, chipping away at my confidence, my optimism, my hope. Despite the outward appearance of strength and poise, inside, I was crumbling. I was fighting an internal war that no one else could see. I was grappling with the fear of not being enough, of not living up to expectations, of not fulfilling my potential. These insecurities, these doubts, they were my constant companions. They were the chains that held me back, the walls that kept me in, the barriers that prevented me from reaching my full potential. They were the dark clouds that obscured the light, the stormy seas that tossed me around, the tumultuous winds that threatened to blow me off course. I was trapped in my own mind, a prisoner of my own insecurities. Then came the day of awakening, the moment I realized that I was more than my insecurities. It was as if a veil had been lifted and suddenly, the world seemed different, brighter, filled with possibilities. You see, self-worth isn't something that's handed to us on a silver platter. It's a treasure we uncover, buried deep within ourselves, waiting to be discovered. Imagine being in a thick forest, lost and disoriented. The only way out is a path that you can't see. It's there, but it's hidden, covered by the undergrowth of self-doubt, fear, and insecurity. You have to make a choice, stay lost or start forging your own path. That's what self-discovery is, the act of cutting through the thicket of self-doubt to find your path. My journey of awakening began with a simple step: introspection. It's like holding up a mirror to your soul, seeing yourself in a light you've never seen before. It's an uncomfortable but necessary process. You see, we're often our own harshest critics. We look in the mirror and focus on our flaws, our insecurities, but introspection is different. It's about seeing beyond those flaws, recognizing your strengths, your abilities, your potential. I started to question why I felt the way I did. Why was I so hard on myself? Why did I let my insecurities control my life? The answers weren't easy, but they were enlightening. I realized that I was more than my insecurities, more than my fears. I was a person of value, a person of worth. And that realization was the spark that lit the path of self-discovery. This process, this journey, it's not a straight line. It's a winding road filled with ups and downs. There are moments of self-doubt, moments when the insecurities creep back in, but with each hurdle crossed, with each step forward, you grow stronger, wiser. You start to see yourself in a new light, a light of self-love and self-respect. It was a journey of introspection, a journey of self-discovery. This journey wasn't easy. It required courage, determination, and resilience. The path to self-discovery is hardly ever a straight line. It's more like a labyrinth, filled with twists and turns, dead ends and surprising discoveries. It's a path that leads you deeper into your own psyche, forcing you to confront your deepest fears and insecurities. There were times when the weight of my own self-doubt threatened to drag me down. It was like walking through a dense forest with no clear path where every tree looked the same. The shadows of my insecurities loomed large, whispering tales of unworthiness and failure. But in these moments of despair, I found a strength I didn't know I possessed. It was a resilience born out of necessity, a determination to overcome the challenges that stood in my path. I realized that every stumble, every setback was a lesson in disguise. They taught me to be patient with myself, to be kinder to my spirit, and to understand that growth is not a linear process. In this labyrinth, I found pockets of light, moments of realization and awakening that illuminated my path. I discovered facets of my personality I didn't know existed. I learned to embrace my strengths, to accept my weaknesses, and to understand that both are integral parts of who I am. This journey was not just about finding myself, but also about creating myself. It was about choosing who I wanted to be, about deciding the values I wanted to uphold, and the beliefs I wanted to let go of. It was about learning to love myself, for all that I am and all that I am yet to be. Through the darkness, the struggle, and the uncertainty, I found my way. I found a sense of self-worth that is not dependent on external validation, but is rooted in my own understanding and acceptance of who I am. I learned that true empowerment comes from within, from acknowledging your worth and asserting your place in the world. Despite the struggles, this journey was enlightening. It was empowering. Slowly, I started overcoming my insecurities. I started embracing my worth. As the days unfolded, the weight of self-doubt began to lift. It was like peeling off layers of an old, worn-out coat that I had been wearing for too long. With each layer that came off, I felt lighter, freer, and more in touch with my true self. I began to see the world through a different lens, one that wasn't clouded by the fog of self-doubt. I started appreciating myself, not for what I thought I should be, but for who I was. I discovered the beauty of my uniqueness, the strength in my vulnerability, and the power in my authenticity. My behavior began to change. I found myself stepping out of my comfort zone, trying new things, and embracing new experiences. I stopped seeking validation from others and started seeking it from within. I no longer feared judgment because I knew my worth wasn't defined by others' opinions. My attitude shifted as well. I stopped looking at the world as a battlefield where I had to prove my worth, and started seeing it as a playground where I could express myself freely. I started treating failures not as defeats, but as opportunities to grow and learn. I started seeing challenges not as obstacles but as chances to prove to myself what I was capable of. My mindset underwent a transformation too. I stopped seeing myself as a victim of my insecurities and started seeing myself as a victor over them. I began to understand that my insecurities were not my identity, they were just barriers that I had the power to overcome. I realized that I was not defined by my insecurities but by my courage to face them and triumph over them. In overcoming my insecurities, I discovered a sense of liberation that I had never felt before. I felt a surge of self-confidence that came from within, not from external validation. I felt empowered, strong, and unstoppable. I was no longer a prisoner of my insecurities, I was a warrior who had conquered them. I was not just surviving, I was thriving. And that, my friends, is the true triumph over insecurities. This journey taught me invaluable lessons about self-worth and self-love. Reflecting back, I see a path paved with trials and triumphs. A journey marked not by the destination, but by the lessons learned along the way. The most significant of these lessons revolved around the concept of self-worth. I learned that self-worth isn't something that just appears one day. It's a seed that needs nurturing, a muscle that needs exercise. It is a realization that you are not just a passenger in life, but the driver. The key to unlocking self-worth lies in understanding that your value is not tied to the opinions of others, but to your own perception of self. When you anchor your worth in the bedrock of self-love, the waves of criticism and self-doubt can no longer sweep you away. You stand strong, rooted in the belief of your own worthiness. Self-love, however, is not about being self-absorbed or narcissistic. It's about acknowledging your strengths, accepting your weaknesses, and understanding that both are integral parts of who you are. It's about treating yourself with the same kindness and respect you would show to others. This is the foundation of self-acceptance. But the journey doesn't end here. Self-discovery is an ongoing process. It is a path that winds and bends, revealing new insights and perspectives with each step. It is a journey that demands patience, for growth is a slow process. As we move forward, we continue to learn, evolve, and grow. We stumble, we fall, but we rise again, stronger and wiser. We learn to trust our instincts, to rely on our strengths, and to face our fears. This is the journey of self-discovery, a journey that never truly ends. So as we step into the unknown, let's remember that the journey is just as important as the destination. We are not perfect, and that's okay. We are works in progress, constantly evolving, constantly growing. I am not defined by my insecurities, but by my ability to overcome them and to discover my true worth.
Do 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 do.